Calling in my highest self, my highest self-consciousness. I'm calling in my highest consciousness soul into my body, into my awareness. I'm calling in my celestial galactic helpers. I'm calling in my spirit guides. I'm calling in my angels to bring forth equilibrium, conscious awareness, realization, recognition, healing, transparence of the egoic mind, calling back home into my truth, into who I truly am, into my soul. Recognition, 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 awakening, awakening, awakening. My dear beloved helpers, I call you in to support me, to help me, to guide me, to bring forth your wisdom, your loving healing. Thank you, thank you, thank you for coming. And bringing forth abiding realization of my true being. Guide me, beloveds, guide me into myself, deeper and deeper, so that all false identity may become transparent and dissolve back into the pool of all that I am. And hold me no more hostage to its painful dream. May that dream dissolve, and may I wake up to my true self. Who is here? Who is here now? All that is ever here now is aliveness, is awareness. Has no labels, has no shape or form. This is your refuge and your salvation is yourself at its core, beingness. This is where you shall come to drink from your well, whenever you feel distraught, anxious, torn apart, in pain. It's the time to come here. You will never be able to get it perfectly and fix the story of the egoic mind, of that idea of yourself that will only continuously become more and more uneasy about itself, uneasy with life. As you are experiencing now. There is a storm out there. There is a storm raging in your life. And it's getting louder and louder. It's the storm in your mind. Of all the identities you've taken on. And none of them are good enough. None of them are to any degree satisfying, really. They're all failures. They all failed. Yeah. Yeah, that hits a note. Yeah. Ah. Yeah, that's so sweet to feel that, isn't it? Oh, it's so sweet. It is your love that is captured. That identity. And a very painful identity. That can never win. It can never win. It will never be seen the way you feel that you are. It will never have its way. It will never get what it wishes for. It will never be good enough. It will always struggle. It will always be increasingly afraid. You see, because the shadow is getting darker as the light is getting brighter. It will increasingly spin around itself and create chaos, drama, problems, anxiety. It will destroy. In its wake, like a Tasmanian devil whirling around, and then collateral happens. And the beauty is that, my darling, you're not meant to. You're not meant to Stay in that identity. That identity within that identity. In that dream of yourself. When you are experiencing yourself from that state of mind that is identified with an idea of you that has become so tight, way too tight for your true self that is already awake. And so when you are in that dream, in those identities, experiencing yourself out of the habit of the mind, in that way, it is becoming increasingly tighter, and you do feel that you're being crushed between the floor coming up and the ceiling. The ceiling doesn't budge. The ceiling is the container of that limited, conditioned egoic mind, that identity within that mind. That identity that is full of memories, of painful memories of yourself, of what you did and what you experienced, of your life, of a failed life, completely failed life. Yes. And that part still feels like it's in a life that is not worth living. In a life where it would be better that you could let it go. And that death wish that is still lingering somewhere inside of you, that still comes up, is genuine in its truth, is a wish to die for that part of you, that false identity to die. For that you that feels that way to die. It truly is the longing for it to stop. That whole entire construct, the whole huge construction of the egoic mind that you are completely ingrained and habituated to experiencing yourself, defining yourself from it, through it, as it. And that has become and is increasingly still becoming so painful, so stressful. Yes. And then you pray and you pray for it to change, for your circumstances to change, and you dream and desire for your circumstances to change, because there's the sense that that is where it's coming from, those feelings of sadness and distraught and resignation, depression, incredible anxiety and fear to move, an incredible vulnerability, and being at the mercy of this harsh environment, this harsh world. And no one understands you. No one can see you for how you truly are. And no one seems to truly care. Yeah. So that in the end, you are alone. You are alone. You feel alone, all alone. And you ask yourself, what is the purpose of my life when I have not succeeded at anything and have not been able to live or create a life for myself where I can simply be content with what is, with what I cannot change. Never, not even to mention a life where I would be in a situation that I always, or that you always desired to be in, because those situations were coming from the desire of your egoic mind, of that egoic self. There is a truer, a deeper, much deeper desire underneath that. And as we said, and as you know, we are going all the way. This is the landslide. This is the complete landslide where nothing stays standing. There is not a part of the egoic mind that is the painful egoic mind, that is the limiting egoic mind. That is where you are asleep to it. There is not a part of you that will remain asleep. Can you feel that that is the truth? I think part of me is still doubting that. Yeah. It's definitely still doubting that. Oh. Is it rolling? Yeah. I'm back. Yes, come back and dive back deep into yourself. It is a painful journey for those aspects of you, for when you are those particles of you, that consciousness of you that is experiencing itself through the egoic mind. It's very painful. And the egoic mind doesn't understand how that works. How it works, that it dissolves. It will claim the self that is not limited in its program. It will claim your true self for itself, as itself, and make it and it claims your awareness, your consciousness. it holds on to it that way. And that is why it is so important that you come as often as you can, that you dive into yourself every day, your true self, so that you can recognize all that which comes from the egoic mind, that you can recognize your pain, your suffering, your anxiety for what it is. But for that, you need to get a real taste of what you are not. So you can get a real taste of yourself. So you can remember to come back to that and what that feels like. Not what it feels like, but so you can recognize it inside of yourself again. Because there is not a likeness. The likeness, the mirror image, is the image that stands in front of you where you project. Where you project yourself. And that projection goes into a separation from, it takes away your attention, your energy, your sense of self, projects it into a program. And that is your true self watching a movie and thinking, that's who I am. Full identification with the character in the movie. And because it has taken over your entire being, in the beginning it is difficult to not feel that, difficult to get even a tiny little glimpse of your genuine self. And with glimpse we mean sense, experience, knowing. Being it. So you said before that you doubt that you will ever self-realize. You will ever come out of that prison of egoic mind, and you will simply have to continue to suffer for the rest of your life, as you have already almost all your life, almost every moment of your life. So let us tune into that doubt. Let us go back there. As we said to you, no stone will be left unturned, and none of the egoic structure will stay standing, will remain standing. And so then your egoic mind says, well, maybe right before I die it'll come down, but I'll still have to, how many years? I'll still have to suffer. When is that going to happen? All right, so now notice that it is not your true self that is anxious about when it's going to happen. Because in your true self, it's always there. It's already there. And this is the only medicine, this is the only salvation that you'll get. For all of your problems, for the whole storm, there is no other way to fix it, if you want to use that word. There's no other way to bring your life into harmony and to be able to enjoy this moment as it comes, as it shows up, as it is. You can be rearranging the deck chairs forever. They will never appear in a way that is satisfying, where you can say, oh, now I am happy. Even though it seems that way so much. If you only could be able to do this or to do that and to go there and to have a home in a beautiful place with lots of nature and have kinship and connection to beautiful brothers and sisters, souls, to co-create paradise together and find your beloved and have your own family and have your beloveds around you and animals and children. And be able to express your craft, your inspiration, your art, your song. Dive deep into musical expression, into the world of creativity. All that you dream of. All that you dream of. It cannot happen from within yourself that is asleep to itself, that is falsely identified, that holds an identification that is so heavy, that is connected to so much trauma, so much pain. That trauma cannot be healed within the egoic mind. It cannot dissolve in the egoic mind. It cannot come back home to a false self. It cannot reconcile within a false self, within a false sense of self. So we drop back in again, backwards into ourselves. And we notice this moment just as it is. From no perspective at all, from no identity at all. even the galactic identities, will be seen through. You will recognize them as well as a part of a template of the conditioned mind. No identity will ever be satisfying until it is seen through. Until it is seen through as the clothing we wear. But we are not our clothing. As long as we identify with the clothing, they will provide suffering. Some form of suffering. But when they are recognized as clothing, we can play dress up and just have so much fun. And we don't want to make this mental at all. We want to go deep into the heart field, deep into the soul, energies, wisdom, sense of being. And then there's the body. And there is the body that always calls your attention when it is in pain and when it doesn't feel good. So it is also important in your support of coming back to your true self, to support your body, to appease it, to create stillness within it. And you know that beyond our conscious being, our conscious sitting, like we are doing now, what it takes to support the body. You know what that is. And you notice the consequences when you don't. It just makes it more difficult to calm your mind and your nervous system enough to be able to drop into your true being. You can still do that, of course, all the time, especially when you're in physical pain and stress. However, you know that it is more difficult to do it then. And all this, what is happening, what is going on around you, let's say construction noise, pollution, breathing in fumes, and everything that is going on physically around you that is beyond what you are thinking, beyond the stress in your mind, that is causing your body also stress or making it more difficult for your body to relax. That is calling for even more nurturing and support of the body when that kind of situation is there, because it takes more ability for the body to transcend those noises and smells and sounds and frequencies and all the action around you. It takes a even more relaxed nervous system in order to be like in your own bubble and not have that affect you. So that's why we're bringing this up now, so that that is in your mind, to make that also a priority right now, as it is really being called for. So we want you to notice that that part of you that doesn't believe that you will be liberated, every single part of you, from your unconscious abiding in the egoic mind, liberated from the egoic mind. That there will be no more egoic mind, in the sense that there will be no more separation, sense of separation within you. You will self-recognize, and that is a consciousness that knows and feels and senses completely your true being in the world. Your oneness. It is the consciousness that you have experienced in lucid dreaming. And that also means that all fear falls away. And that also means that there is no more identification with all the memories of the past, with all that, what you did. But since the sense of separation, that sense of the conditioned egoic mind that you were experiencing and acting through, that was what was driving your thoughts, it was driving your identification, it was driving your energy, it was driving your behavior, and so it was driving your actions. You will more and more and more realize that that was also like a dream that you were caught in, that you had. It was a bad dream that you had and that you were caught in, and these things did happen. However, it's more like now you will see yourself as an actor doing these things, but that wasn't you doing these things. It was you being asleep in a dream, dreaming of yourself doing these things, exactly like having a bad dream and you're doing bad things or having bad experiences with other people doing bad things to you in that dream. But when you wake up to your true self, it is like a dream, a really intense bad dream that you had. And it may be your whole life. It's going to be your whole life was a bad dream that you had at the same time. So let's first tune into how that feels before we go deeper into this notion, which is a knowing. And you will remember what that is like as you remember yourself. And this is what true forgiveness is the seeing of truth. Is the seeing of truth. Because there is no way that when you have a dream, is it your fault when you wake up? The things that you experienced and the things that you did in the dream. Let's say you did terrible things in the dream and you wake up from that dream. Do you feel a sense of guilt for doing those things in the dream? Or what is the feeling like? The feeling is that you simply have that dream lingering within you. Like, oh, that was a weird dream. Oh, or that was a terrible dream. But it doesn't, the identity of that you had in that dream doesn't stick when you wake up. You don't feel guilty because you also say, well, it didn't, that wasn't me, and it didn't happen. The difference is that even though it really did happen, these things in your memory that you did, your memories of painful, very painful happenings, they really did happen. However, it is the same as a dream. When you wake up from it, you also wake up to a knowing how, okay, so let's go deeper into that. You are no longer attached to that dream, to a certain outcome. You're no longer attached to what happened. Oh. You no longer have that sense of, I wish I could go back and do it all again and do it good. Do it all differently and make good on my wrongdoings, or make good on wherever I hurt anybody, or wherever I made a mistake, or wherever I made a bad choice. Make a better one, make a good one. And there comes that pain of regret that you carry around with you your whole life, of sorrow. The thing is that with the awakening, with the knowing of your true self, you transform that emotion of that part of your light, that part of yourself that is in that emotion of, in the inversion, that is in the inversion of self, in the separation from self. And as you recognize and abide in and sense your true beingness, you liberate that emotion with your own attention, with your own fractal of self that was asleep in that egoic mind. As that wakes up, also that is holding on to that painful emotion. Also that emotion releases. It turns back around and releases that inversion, releases that pain, that charge, and is back flowing in your system as its true self, as the light that it is again, with undistorted coding. And it also reconciles the DNA coding, respectively. Now true sound can sound through. And that true sound is what creates your reality. And now your reality is created through true sound and through distorted sound that is still in full identification, that is still asleep to the egoic mind. And it is only through meeting itself that it can recognize itself. So that is why the situation still reflects also the distorted aspects of your being. and shows up in that way, disharmonious, dissonant, chaotic, problematic, dramatic, loud, busy, and dirty, cluttered. It is always in respective to what you're still not, that which is still not in truth, those energies that are still running through the separate self. They create, recreate, together with the soul, with your true self. It is your soul that is the light that is creating, but it is creating through that filter of identification, so it can meet itself, so it can recognize itself. So all this painful, these situations in your life that are triggering this pain inside of you, that are triggering the old programmings, the stress and the anxiety, the sadness, the regret, all of that is still there. And then the certain mind programs that spin, that have been distorted, and that run a distortion program, such as Tourette's, OCD, depression, schizophrenia. I don't know about schizophrenia, but these that I mentioned, I know about these because I have them in myself. Bipolar, yes. As an example, no. Mm-hmm. So it gets triggered. It gets triggered through the situation so that you can meet and realize where you are still stuck in a way, even though you're not stuck. Ever, you're not stuck, but it is very, it causes suffering, for sure. It causes suffering, but it has to. That's how it is. It has to. You have to meet that part of yourself in order to recognize it for what it is. And it is the suffering that brings you to sit down and to dive into your true self. If you would have an environment where you would be inspired to sing, you would just be doing your music all day. If you had an environment where you would be together with people that you have so much fun with, that you love to be around, you'd be busy all day long, doing things, creating things, laughing, making food, going swimming, doing this, doing that, dancing, whatever. And that's very beautiful. And you're not to be, it is not about denying you those joys. It is not about keeping you in a prison so that you never can experience the full potential of your joy and create a beauty from your joy. No, that is not why you are here in this situation, my darling, my beloved sweetheart, darling. We do love you so much. as you recognize your true self, you recognize your false self, and the tears run because the false self is so painful. It's been so painful. It is so painful to know yourself as all this construct that has been erected, that has been constructed, crystallized into your mind and into your emotions, all that you are not. And you are still sorry for all the hurt you caused others and yourself. And that is also coming from identification. Because who you really are, it doesn't suffer. It is not sorry. It is not hurt by the dream it had. It is not hurt by the dream it had. Even though that dream was real and really happened, it had a dream. It wasn't doing these things. It wasn't experiencing these things, even though it was, but that wasn't who you are. It was experiencing it through a dream of itself. Not from who you really are, not your true self. Your true self stays untouched, really. It's that part of you that was never asleep in the dream, that remembers all itself that was asleep in the dream. And when we say dream, of course it was reality. It really happened. Yet it still is also a dream. As now it is all past. It is all memory. And with the awakening, with the abiding, with the sense of true self, also comes a remembering of a much greater reality, a sense and a knowing of that all of this had purpose. All that pain that you experienced and caused had a purpose and was done by choice and consciously. And this is something you may not feel at the moment, but you know it's there. You know it's coming. You know you will awaken to a degree where all of that will be known and felt and reconciled hence. This is making it easier for you to remember. This is building the bridge into, it is like paving the way for you to remember. And that is what these sessions do. They support you so that on your way to remembering, it alleviates the suffering. And it welcomes you and invites you to come back, every time you suffer. And it also makes it easier for you to remember when it is said, not just when you get the intuitions, or when this is happening in your intuition, in your mind, quietly. Then that is very important, and that is very powerful as well. However, at the same time, when you actually come and sit and speak the words, and then can also go back and listen to them, it is like the echo gets louder, the knowing gets supported, the remembering has more traction, has more of a footprint in your being. It is easier for you then to recognize when you're in the midst of suffering, when you're in the midst of a chaos or stressful situation, or just simply having low thoughts, and just simply a low grade suffering. It is easier, the more we do this, the more we come together and actually sit in our truth, it is easier to come back to it every time. Because every time we don't feel good, every time we do suffer and we are in stress, that is the sign and the signal that we are again deeply, deeply lost, or lost in the egoic mind stream. And your whole situation lends itself. You feel like it is happening against you. You feel like you made mistakes. And it is triggering that regret. It is triggering that OCD of how can I undo it? How can I make it good again? How can I even this out? How can I bring it back into balance? From outside the vantage point, outside that perspective and vantage point of where the OCD is like a tornado storm that comes and swirls you around and just thrashes you around, and you have no control, and your nervous system is out of control, and your whole intestinal area, your whole gut area is wrenching, and is like it's cramping, and it's like there are parts of it that are poisoned or burning, and so in agony. It makes it easier when you actually understand it from your mind, but not just that. The mind builds the bridge into the inner standing so that you can take a standpoint, or you can take a stand that has no point, that is the space of it, and the knowing of what is happening here actually. Is it about the happening? Is that what I really want? Do I really want ABC that I am gut-wrenching over? Yes, that would be very nice. Thank you very much. But now in this moment, as my gut is wrenching, is that my salvation? That the situation changes? And is that why it's showing up in my life? Is that why I made the mistake, in quotes, the mistake? Is that why I behaved and acted in a way that I regret now? All right, let's sit with that for a second. Or is it rather that it is just like when you dream a dream at night and it is playing out the distorted frequencies, the distorted energies that are held in your system, in the egoic, through the egoic identification, the conditioned identification, and its respective emotions. A reflection of that, an expression of that, it triggers that program of overwhelm and stress, regret, anxiety. It triggers it. And now it's up. Now it's all here, overwhelming you. And the whole time you're in the loop, projecting it onto the situation, trying to manipulate, control the situation in a way to get it back to where you feel like, okay, now I'm okay again. Now I can be okay again with what is, because I was able to rearrange it. I was able to ameliorate my mistake, undo my mistake, make good on my mistake. All right, let's stay with this first. We'll get to the other part later. The other desires, we'll get to that later. As long as you're still attached to the need for your situation to be in a certain way to feel good. Yeah? You need a certain thing to happen in order to be okay. You are held hostage within your egoic mind. You are asleep in that painful dream. You are not free. You have not woken up to your true desire, where you really want to be. The dream that you really want to be in is one where you are free, is a lucid dream, is an awake dream, where you are not afraid. And where you can see how everything lends itself to you, to your true desire. And your true desire always comes through your true being. And it is not a mental image. It comes through your heart. And it always is here and now. It is always this moment. Born naturally out of the flow of your being in this moment. It doesn't seek pleasure in a different situation. It doesn't need to seek pleasure because it is perfectly in harmony with what is. And there is no past to heal. There is no past to make good or to regret. Because it was a dream that you had, even though it happened. It was a real experience. But it's not real now anymore. Now it's a memory and embedded in the knowing of the purpose of it all, the divine plan that you cannot see while you're still in the character. That you cannot imagine what that could be. And you can't feel from that liberated, knowing, purposeful perspective. You can't feel from that perspective as long as you still have the regret. You can work and work and work on the character. The character wants to heal, it wants to heal, it wants to be liberated, but what it cannot understand, because the egoic mind will always claim it. And then you're in character. What it cannot understand is its own undoing. And that it is that what it takes to get to the other side of it and release the suffering of the past, of what happened in the past. And that is what is called forgiveness. That is true forgiveness. Is the awakening to truth. Where there is no more forgiveness. Do you have to forgive a character in a dream that did something to you? In that dream, when you woke up from that dream, are you holding a grudge towards that character? Or is it more like, yeah, that was a dream. And you have actually no relationship to the character that did something bad to you. As you have no relationship to that version of you that did something bad, other than the experience you remember that you had in the dream. And when you wake up from a dream, it's always, even if it was a bad dream, all right, so let's take that example where where this demonic being was very, very nasty towards you, and through all its nastiness towards you, this man, this demonic man in that one dream that you just thought of. So when you woke up from that dream, was there any residue of something that you held against him, that some kind of disgust or anger or so? No. There was still that, ooh, that was so horrible. That was so horrible. But there was no personal thing there. There was no attachment to that person because he was not really a he. That was a fiction of your mind. Whoever that was. It was a character in a dream. And it is the same sense when you wake up to your true self, even though that really happened. That was really your experience. Just like it was really your experience when you have a dream. Even though you can say that was a dream and that didn't really happen, and this, my life, my past, really happened. It is still the same principle of experience. And it is the egoic mind that will say, you're bad. You cannot be forgiven. Or that person cannot be forgiven. And while you're in that story, that is true. And that's very painful because it doesn't let go. You don't know how to let go. As long as you are that character that experienced that, whether it was yourself or someone else that did something bad to create a situation that felt awful, that was still your true self having a dream of itself. That was not your true self. And vice versa. When you recognize that within yourself, you know it is the same for everyone else. It is not their soul. It is also their character. In their dream, in your dream. And on top of that, you then have the sense of purpose of all of it. You have the sense of purpose. You have the sense of the other's soul. And when you have a sense of your own soul. And a purpose of coming together. This whole entire playing field of the earth is a reflection of each's mind, each's dream. And serves as a playing field to wake up from that dream to your true self. And there are those where that is not, they're not ready yet. That's not in their timeline yet. And that's not even your concern. But to understand that the world is actually not about the stage and everything that shows up and all the material things. It's not about the situation, just like your life is not about your situation. It is for your soul. And where you are at right now is what matters. And where you are at right now is that you are in the midst of and ready and in the process of remembering your soul. And not just you also have all of that support. You have all of the knowledge, and the whole playing field is showing up so loud, so strong since so many years, knowing that it is the entire planet, the planetary consciousness that is waking up. That doesn't mean that every single player, every single character running around is going to fully wake up to their soul. Out of the character, too aware of the character, and thereby the character becomes totally transparent and only aids as this as a body and as a dress to play through, for pure consciousness to play through. And pure consciousness, of course, in your very, very own unique soul imprint, soul song, soul symphony structure. However, identity is a conscious structure that we play through, that we take on to play through. Like we take on brown eyes, and then we see the world through brown eyes, and others see us looking like this with brown eyes. And of course, this whole look, your race, your culture that you were born into, all of that is part of the colorful fabric of the character that you consciously are expressing through. But it's no longer that the character is a white screen that it has been conditioned to take on everything that was projected onto it, and everything that now the mind is projecting onto it, has been projecting and is projecting onto it. And that is that storm of the character. And when you believe yourself to be that character, you are being swirled around in the storm. The tornado has you. You have no control. And you're trying to get control. You're trying to make your life better. You're trying to achieve, and you cannot achieve anything. When it is your time to wake up, then you cannot achieve anything. Then you can never be good enough. Because it is not now anymore your time to identify as the character and make that dream in a certain way. It is now the time to wake up from that character. And so that is what your whole life is going to reflect back to you, is all of the distorted programs are going to be triggered that you are now ready to wake up from. And another trap is when you see others living a life that you wish you had, and thinking, why can I not, live in a beautiful place that I feel at home? Why can I not, have this or that? A partner, a family, friends, a social life, all the things that you wish you had, that you think will make you happy. Okay, let's go into that. And where we say, it is not because you are not good enough, and you are a failure, and you are lost, and you are forgotten, and you are just no good at all, not worthy, or simply because, you're not doing enough, you're lazy, you're not doing enough spiritual, and just not, you don't cut it. You just can't make it. You're a failure. Just because of that your life is the way it is, that is the belief system that is coming through the egoic mind. And that is what self-perpetuates this suffering and this self-negative feeling and closes your heart, towards yourself and towards the world, because you're not good enough. And what you desire is that your life would reflect back to you, and where you could express your love, where you can express your creativity and all the good things that are inside of you, and where you could experience joy, so you can spread joy. Instead of being, still suffering a lot. And so here's the thing that we really want you to get, and that we want to clearly point out to you, make very clear. So why are you still feeling stuck and alone, and nothing is the way that you wished it would be? You didn't achieve anything, and so forth. Why can you not have? Why is there absolutely no social connection, no joy in your life? Okay, let's tune in and not come from the mind that already has the echo imprint and kind of knows. So let's really come from the deep, deep sense of being. Because it's not about knowing it mentally, that doesn't reach you, even though that is very helpful when you can connect that to the knowing, to the inner knowing. It helps you to connect to the inner knowing, having the mental knowing already in place, and not this mental knowing comes from the connection within. However, you always have to reconnect, go back there. And not just lazily, let's say, hear the echo of the mental knowing. That, because then you're just playing it in, then your egoic mind is claiming to be your soul. But you're not actually abiding and slipping out of the program of the mind and slipping into yourself, which is not in the mind. It is not an image. It is in your body and it is in your heart. It is when the mind is still. And as we are speaking here, the mind can be completely still at the same time. And this speaking has just happened very naturally. As if someone else were speaking to you and you were simply listening. Not trying to make sense of it, just an open mind. There you go. There you go. You see, your desires, they're still coming from a sense of lacking all of that. They're still coming from the character. And that doesn't mean that these desires that seem so natural that they are not meant to occur, that they're not meant to happen. But they are not meant to happen now, as they are not present now. At the same time, they are not lacking because they are not meant to be here now. And it's not just meant to, it's also what can only be here now is a reflection of yourself and is coming from the deepest desire to know yourself. That is the driving force. That is the driving, that is the baseline guidance that is guiding your life, that is in the blueprint, is to know yourself. That is your deepest desire. Because it is time now. It is time for your soul to know itself, to know yourself in this body, in this density. Because you are ready. It is the degree of maturity that is playing itself out. And as long as you are in that dream, in that coming from that image of yourself, first of all, you cannot live your dream being still in the image of yourself. That is a failure. Because that can only recreate the reflection of you're a failure. You make mistakes. Your life is a total failure. That can only recreate itself. It cannot reach what you desire, you see. That what you desire within your situation can only come about from your liberation, from your liberated state of being, beingness. And the liberated beingness naturally attracts or that is reflected back to you as your soul symphony then becomes manifest. Just like in a lucid dream where you naturally know what it is that you want to do. It's not a thought in your mind, it just happens. And the whole dream is that, reflects that. Your highest possible desire, which is not a desire as in I am desiring something that I don't have. It is fulfillment in action already. It is right here, every moment, totally fulfilled in action, playing itself out. I don't know what's going to happen next, but every next moment is coming through my heart, is the fulfillment expressed. Kind of like reading what I'm not even aware of what my highest desire would be to do in this moment off my lips, the dream, a lucid dream. And you know exactly what it is, you know, that you're doing, that is in front of you, that you want to do, that is this highest desire. Not in a sense of pulling it towards you, but you just walk into it. It's all there. It's flowing out of you naturally. And it is all of you. There is no more separation within you where there is confusion with, okay, what, is it this or is it that? What am I supposed to do? What do I want to do? There's none of that compartmentalization anymore. It is a organic, flowing wholeness that comes through your heart and is reflected in your dream. And you are one with that dream. And that, as you can already now sense it, speak about it, that is what is awaiting you. That is, of course, what is already here. However, you are not quite getting it yet because of all the parts of you, all the fractals of your consciousness that are still sleeping, asleep unconsciously to the egoic mind's dream. Perfectly fine. This is not like the fault of the soul. This is the natural occurrence, just like weather naturally occurs. And it, of course, it has purpose. It is full of purpose. And the purpose is to create an expansion of itself, an expansion of love. And with that, all that pain is healed. All that pain is healed in the remembering. That is the healing. In the remembering of your true self. That is the healing. And so when you find yourself being sad about not being in a place where you're inspired to sing, for example, or being in a place that is so polluted, so dirty, so loud, where it's difficult to find peace, difficult to find enjoyment in the moment because there's so much in the way. It is ever the more louder the calling to remember your true self, and you might have to withdraw for a little window of time, whatever time you have available at that moment, to sit down and close your eyes and drop into yourself and find your true being again. To drop out of a relationship with your environment. Drop out of standing in relation, the character stands in relation to the experience around him or her or you. or me, or us, or love, or God. It drops out of relationship into beingness. And then it all is. There is no relationship. It all is. And then the sound, the noises, the pollution, it just is. There is no reaction to it. There is no resistance to it. There is no framework to put it in as judging it as something that is bad or shouldn't be. There is no story of a framework to put it in, judging it as, this is bad because. You have to drop out of all of that. Yes. To come back into truth. And knowing that all of that is so loud in your field, to actually pressure you, put pressure on you to do exactly that. To let everything go, close your eyes and go within. Because if the surrounding would be pleasant enough, you would easily find ways to enjoy this moment. But enjoy it in from the character still. And so it wouldn't be the true depth of enjoyment of your true being and of what you are capable of. And it would be still a subtle form of suffering. You would be okay with that suffering because you would maybe even notice it so much as suffering because of the depth of suffering that you are used to and that you have gone through. So if the environment would be pleasant enough, quiet enough, the air clean enough, that there would be enough nature around for you to enjoy. And perhaps you would even have a friend to enjoy their company. That would already be enough for you to say, okay, I'm fine as a character. Okay, I'm fine. I don't need more. I can settle with this. I'm happy enough. But it would be a surface, low-grade suffering would still be there because you would just make do with it. You would just be okay with it. And you would never get to the bottom of truly, as you call it, heal, which is coming back to wholeness, coming back to your true self. That is whole. It is not separate. You would never consider that. You would never face in that direction. You would not pull your attention in so deeply into yourself. You would stay in character. You would remain in character. And if that were on your path, that would be perfectly fine, and that's how it would be. However, it is not. Which is reflected in your situation. It is showing you this over and over and over again. And it is becoming, slowly, it is becoming more clear to you. And easier to reconnect and redirect your attention from being in the projected fashion coming from the character into being the redirecting your attention inward and out of the character into the soul, into your being. So here we are. Beautiful. And we don't want to be anywhere else. And no place in the world, standing under a waterfall with a friend, having a great day, can give you this if you don't already have it. You understand? It cannot give you truth. It cannot help you to know yourself unless you already have it, unless you already know and you're already here. And then this situation that you desire, to be in nature, to be in kinship, to have social relationship, to live a lifestyle that is supporting the earth, supporting nature, that is in harmony with nature, and all of this, all of this that you desire to be different about your situation and your life. It can only come from here. It can only come through this openness of your being, the truth of your being. It can be born out of and reflected back to you. It cannot come through your character. Your character is like a block, is the only thing actually blocking it. But your character will say, oh, it is my fault that I'm not there yet. It is my fault that I'm not already completely abiding in my soul and I can live my dream, my lucid dream. It is my fault that I'm still stuck in the dream of the egoic mind, and hence I'm still stuck here in this place. You see? You can feel that now? A little bit more. Yeah, stay in this feeling for a moment. We love you so much. You're right on the edge now between that feeling of all alone, completely alone, talking to yourself, sweet talking to yourself. And even though there's nobody else here, that sense, that feeling, that knowing of I'm not alone, I'm not separate. I'm not separate from myself, from my, from my greater soul, my soul cluster, my soul family. We're all here. We're all one here. This is all here now. And you're right on that edge. With one foot in this world and one foot in this world. One foot liberated, one foot in prison still. How much time are you spending looking outside of yourself, comparing your life to others? How much time are you spending looking outside of yourself, watching movies, characters playing in movies, and your character getting a sense of, oh, why can I not have a life like that? Or that this is how life ought to be, and you haven't achieved any of it. You haven't been able to live that kind of life ever. You haven't been able to get any kind of grip on life. No footing whatsoever. You have nothing to show for. You have not been able to get anything done, not even any kind of craft or trade that you could make a living for yourself with. Not even that you were able to do. And you judge yourself for it in comparison to others who have it. And this is all the story, that whole movie playing out in your egoic mind. Self-judgment, keeping you from the love that you have and are. From the spaciousness within you, the freedom within you. Freedom within you has nothing to do with what it looks like on the outside. It's just the outside, your situation, again, it will reflect exactly how free you feel from being in the character. And since you have one foot already, now we're figuratively just speaking, one foot and liberated in your soul. Even though sometimes it feels like you have no foot in the soul and maybe just like a little hair that is, that is reaching into your soul and you can hardly tell. Yeah, sometimes it feels that way. The prison that it feels from the egoic mind reflected back to you in like how free you are to move in the world and all the things that you need to have, all the conditions you need to meet in order to be free to move and do, to move where and do what you want, is part of the dream of the character. Your soul is doing what it wants. It cannot not do. This is like everything that is happening for the soul. This is your soul's dream. And it is time now for the soul to awaken itself out of the dream that so and so many fractals of itself is asleep in. So from the soul perspective, it's not about doing all these things and creating paradise on earth and having all these fun and beautiful experiences. It really is about awakening, and then it is naturally flowing that way. It cannot not flow that way. That, it's not that, okay, when the soul is awakened, when the complete egoic mind is deconstructed, that construct collapsed, all your energy regained. What now? What is now your soul's deepest desire? To know itself continuously. But now it wants to know itself. Now let's say the priority is no more waking itself up, because now it is awake. Now let's see what wants to be created from this, in this lucid dream. And it naturally just happens. And it's not a linear black and white, okay, now it's this, then it's that. That it's all happening at the same time and phasing in and out. However, you will not create a situation that the soul is not going to create a situation that will support itself staying asleep in the egoic mind, that will appease the character, that will give the character more juice, that will give the character satisfaction being this character. Because the soul wants itself to wake up. It wants you to wake up. I want myself to wake up. And so what happens? How is the structure? And the structure can only reflect back always what is, right? Always your conscious being, your embodiment. And so it will reflect back both. And both are happening, actually are working together, even though, because the soul really has, the awakened soul really has is the director of the dream. Even though it is not asleep in the dream, it is not caught up in the dream, it is not a character in the dream, it is the director. It has way more power than the unconscious. The conscious has way more, it's like the conscious light has way more power than the asleep light. The asleep light is the inverted light. Well, it's not completely necessarily inverted. Yes, there is also a sleep light that is not inverted. That is true. However, even the non-inverted asleep light if it is time for it to wake up, if the deeper desire of the soul that is here orchestrating everything is because it's time now for itself to wake up, then whether it's inverted or not, it's going to become a dream. That dream is going to reflect all that is within that asleep mind back, and there will be a degree of suffering. There will always then be a degree of suffering, because what it meets is, if it doesn't meet itself as itself, if it meets itself, which is what shows up in the dream, as another and reacts to it in a negative way, where there is a war, where there is a clash, where there is adversity, there will be suffering. And where there is suffering, there is a desire to get out of it and to not suffer. And the only way to get out of it is to wake up from that dream, is not on the board of the dream world, is not within the dream. You cannot make that dream. If it is time to wake up, the dream will always show up in a way where the only solution and salvation is to wake up to the problems and the drama in the dream. That's the only way to dissolve that suffering. Otherwise, it will repeat itself. my dear. We can never truly show up for you if you call us in as separate from yourself, from the character. We cannot show up. Not truly. It will be a distorted version of our true selves. However, we do show up truly for you, for your true being, and we do help you recognize your true being. But you will not recognize us from your character. You will have a distorted version of us. And you cannot truly feel us from the character place, because that is still a separate place. We come through the heart, and the heart is not separate. And the souls are not separate, because all the soul families, all the soul clusters in the whole universe are connected and come from the same source. And those of us that you call in as your guides, as your teachers, as your angels, we are in the knowing of the oneness. And we come as that to you because it is ourselves calling ourselves. It is another aspect of ourselves calling ourselves in. We are abiding and adhering completely to love. And love can only love and have love. And guide into love, into the remembering of the truth. And yes, we bring all of our uniqueness to the table. And you wouldn't be calling us anyone specifically if there wasn't resonance. So completely trust in that. When you feel guided to call upon one of us, yes. Yes. Mm. Mm. We love you so much, and we wish that you can feel that in your heart completely, to the very forefront, penetrating your very skin of your being, completely your whole body being flushed and aflush in all the love that we have for you, for this very particular aspect of ourselves. We know you. We remember you as ourselves. That is why we come to you. We can come to you when you call us, when you call upon us. Mm. You have a very unique path. It cannot be like anyone else's. It cannot look like anyone else's. Mm. I do love you too. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much, my beloveds. Thank you for coming. And this voice goes in both directions and comes from both directions. And no direction at all. Yeah, I get that. I cannot make sense of it, but yeah, it's here now. I get it. The mind is still, relatively still. And it is only the body getting a little bit impatient from sitting. And yes, and I wish to take care of it. I love my body. As you are loving it, you are taking care of it. You don't have to think about taking care of it. Being in this love is taking care of it. That is truly taking care of it. And you will naturally reach for the things to put in that are in alignment with your body and that support your body. And even if you reach for something where your mind says, oh, no, I want to eat this now, but it's not supportive of your body. When you reach for it from this place of love and enjoy what you're reaching for, it is supporting your body. Your mind just can't make sense of it. It's perfectly fine. But it is rare. It would be a rare exception that when you are in this love that you would reach for anything that is not good for your body. And if it would only be in a dose that would be, no problem at all. Like, all right, let's party. And we might have a little bit of a hangover next day, and that's perfectly fine. And the body is going to take it exactly the way you take it. Every system of your body is going to take it that way. With so much love for the experience. So much understanding and holding space and just doing its job. And the body, the systems doing their job. They love doing their job. It's what they do. It's who they are. It's what they are. It's fulfilling their purpose. They may be a bit tired, maybe a bit out of it, not at peak performance. It's okay. That is how, where are you receiving your experience from? Where are you experiencing from? Where are you abiding in? How awake are you? Your body wakes up with you. With your consciousness, your body wakes up as well. And you know that in a lucid dream, your body feels awesome, actually blissful. So blissful that it's like you having that dream is completely blissful to the physical body lying in bed. So powerful. Yes. The knowing of yourself is all healing. Is all healing. Because it is time now to know yourself. You cannot tell this to someone where it is not time to know themselves, that are still going through the experience of the dream and gathering and forming identity and identities and experiences for the soul to, when they're ready, wake up from and then integrate all of that separation that has been, created. Integrate all of that and remember your true self, and then all that separation that has been created, that as it comes back, all that forgetting, as it remembers, creates so much expansion for the soul, and that is what that bliss and that ecstasy is. That is where that comes from. And that is how we grow, and that is how we ascend. That is how we expand our consciousness. That is how the higher anatomy comes online. That is how we embody into this density. And how we become the living, breathing, in-flesh angels on earth. Creators. Lucid dreamers. I love you. I love you. Isn't it delicious to sit with yourself? There's so much more, and it never gets old. Okay. So we will sojourn until next time and allow the body to move. Beautiful that you actually would stay if your body wouldn't feel like it wanted to move. That's very beautiful. Yes, and we also know that once the activity begins and you're interacting with your environment, that it is more difficult to abide and to feel your soul, which is why we hope you come back more It's not really hoping, of course. No. It is knowing that you will come back more. Yes. And you do. And you do. If you stay here, from this place, from this spaciousness, from this flowing, natural flow of, immediate flow of consciousness coming through your heart, you are not anxious about what is to come or about anything. And you are not regretting anything from the past, because you're so here, so just in this moment. Like right now, it would be a force. You would have to force yourself to think about a problem or a regret or an anxiety about the future. And it doesn't feel good, so why would you go there? And if you are in this space of neutrality, you know that this is the space of where the lucid dream where your dream is waking up and can reflect more lucidity back to you, where that is a sense of that you are one with a dream, where all your desires become reality, but it is the true desires. And those desires that are not true, they just dissolve, they're not there anymore. And you bless everyone with your presence from here as this. You bless everyone with your presence, because you are one with their presence, with their true being, that is then by osmosis blessing them, because that's all that your true being does, is bless everything as it is holding space for it in its loving open arms. And it is only your egoic mind that will say, oh, you failed to abide. Now, the character cannot abide. The character can only wake up. And the egoic mind will say, you failed to wake up. Oh, my beloved, the depth of your being and the truth of life is so, so, so simple. So simple. But it's not easy to actually come here. However, all of your suffering makes it so that you find the exit, makes it so that you find yourself again, gives you the necessary pressure to almost, in a sense, it doesn't force you, but to realize that it is the only way out. The only way to peace. And salvation.